Namo Namaha Bhaktam Sarvesham Hardam Swagatam. Welcome back to the channel Sanskrit Sopanam. I hope you are doing great. I'm also good. And moving ahead in our Learning Sanskrit through Gita series, today we'll cover the 50th shloka from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Again, the same running theme of Karma Yoga, of how to perform, of how to undertake a work, and with what kind of attitude. Okay, so that same theme that we have seen the few later shlokas in that same theme, and that same theme is continued in this shloka also. Again, a very beautiful shloka, and in this shloka, we get another very beautiful definition of yoga, of karma yoga. Okay, what is that definition? What we can learn from the shloka, and what we can learn from Sanskrit point of view? All this we will see in this video. So without wasting any more time, let's quickly dive in today's video. Okay, so this is the 50th shloka. Let me go through the shloka once. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ubhe sukrita dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujyasva yogah karmasu kaushalam. Okay, so this here is the original shloka, and this is the Sandhi Vichcheda of the same shloka. So right off the bat, we can see this Buddhi Yukto, and we already know that the main pada, the original pada is Buddhi Yuktaha, and due to Ukara Utva Sandhi, this Visarga Yuktaha, this is changing into U, which is further changing into O. So Buddhi Yuktaha, this is becoming Buddhi Yukto. This is the Ukara Utva Sandhi. Okay, and again if you move on, so we see this Samyukta pada Jahatiha. And this is also made of two individual padas, Jahati and Iha. And what Sandhi we can spot here? So it is the normal Savarna Dirgha Sandhi, that both E are combining to produce a Dirgha form of E. So Jahati Iha becoming Jahatiha. Okay, and then in this second Pankti, we have this Samyukta pada, Tasmad Yogaya. So here also the individual padas are Tasmat and Yogaya. And what is happening here? So we can clearly see you have this Dya. And this Dya is made of Da plus Ya. So we can clearly see this Takara has changed into this Dakara. What is this Sandhi? So again, changing into a C3, the third consonant, it is the Jashtva Sandhi. Again, a very common Sandhi, Jashtva Sandhi, due to which Tasmat becomes Tasmad, and then it combines with the Yogaya, becomes Tasmad Yogaya. That is what you see in the original shloka. So those were the only sandhis that we can spot in this shloka. Again, all these sandhi rules and the entire word by word breakdown of this shloka is given in the PDF sheet that you can download from the link in the description box. Now let us move on and start the decoding of the shloka. Okay, so we are starting with this Kriya Pada that we spot in the shloka, Jahati. And Jahati, this means he or she, some third person, abandons or give up. And this Kriya Pada is coming from the dhatu Ha dhatu. Ha dhatu we have seen before also. Ha dhatu means to abandon, right? And the form is Lat Lakara, that is present tense, Prathama Purush, that is some third person did the action, and Ek Vachanam, one person, singular. So Ha dhatu in these three properties becomes Jahati. Okay, this is a bit irregular form because immediately you see this Ja, that from where this Ja comes. So there is a concept of reduplication, Dvitvam, because this Ha dhatu, this belongs to Juhotyadi Gana. And in this particular Gana, whatever dhatus belong to this particular Gana, so Dvitvam happens, reduplication happens. So due to that reduplication, certain letter of a dhatu, the first letter of the dhatu, that is reduplicated. And then there are additional rules. I don't want to go into those rules right now. Maybe I'll make a video, a separate video on reduplication, Dvitvam. So there we will cover all these things. But you can just take a mental note of this, that whenever a Dvitvam happens for this Ha letter, then usually Ja is what is left. That is what you see here. So a normal form that we could have imagined of this Ha would have been Hati. Okay, Pathati, Khadati. So Ha, Hati. But due to reduplication, this Ja comes. So the form becomes Jahati. Okay, so I'm just introducing this concept here, reduplication, Dvitvam. But what is it? So maybe in a separate video, I'll cover that. Okay, so we are starting with this. And now if we'll move on, so immediately the question will be, Kaha Jahati? Who abandons? And the response is Buddhi Yuktaha Jahati. And this Buddhi Yuktaha, this is clearly a samasa, a compound word, because we can spot two individual padas in it, Buddhi and Yukta. Yukta, this means something that is Yukta is something is endowed, something which is endowed with something. That is Yukta. Okay, and endowed with what? So endowed with Buddhi. That is what we are trying to say. And this Buddhi, as we have seen in the previous shlokas also, Buddhi can be seen in two meanings. One meaning is true knowledge. That means wisdom. So one meaning for Buddhi is wisdom. And then another meaning of Buddhi can be Viveka, that discriminating intelligence. See, Buddhi generally means intelligence. But when we are talking about buddhi in this karma yoga context, then that is not just intelligence, because a lot of people are intelligent, but there is a difference between being intelligent and being wise. So when you have read a lot of scholarly material, when you have a lot of knowledge in you, so your intellect, your buddhi is sharp, but how you apply that knowledge, that your viveka decides. So if you apply if you are able to apply the knowledge correctly, then that means you have the proper discriminating intelligence. You have the viveka. That viveka helps you to distinguish between what is right, what is wrong, what is required, what is not required, what is dharmic, what is adharmic. So that this buddhi here in the context of karma yoga is not to be understood as just intellect or intelligence. This buddhi has to be understood as that discriminating intelligence, that viveka. Okay, and in that meaning, buddhi yukta will mean one who is endowed with viveka, one who is endowed with discriminating intelligence. So you can take that meaning also. I have taken the meaning that one who is endowed with true knowledge, one who is endowed with wisdom. Wisdom of what? So wisdom of karma yoga, because that is the context here right now. Okay, so I hope the meaning implied here of these two words, it is clear. How to understand this samasa if you have to do the vigraha? So what we are trying to say? Yukta with buddhi, endowed with buddhi. So this buddhi has to come in tritiya vibhakti, right? Buddhi is a strilinga pada. So the tritiya vibhakti is buddhaya. So the vigraha vakya of the samasa can be buddhaya yuktaha. Yaha buddhaya yuktaha saha buddhi yukta. Okay, one who is endowed with wisdom. Okay, so with this vigraha vakya, you can understand in samasa. To create a samasa, we already know. We bring the two pratipadikas together. When we combine them, we get the word buddhi yukta, and then we use the proper vibhakti. So, prathama vibhakti ekvachanam buddhi yuktaha. Buddhi yuktaha jahati. One endowed with wisdom of karma yoga, such a person abandons, such a person gives up. Okay, so I hope this word, this pada, this is clear. And now if we move on, so now we have the question, ke jahati. What all this such a person abandons? So basically we are inquiring about the karma now, karma of this kriya. And this pada is also a samasa, because here also you can spot two individual padas, sukrita and dushkrita. What is sukrita? So something that is done right, so the good deeds. And what is dushkrita? Something that is done wrong, so the bad deeds. Okay, so we are trying to say that a person who is buddhi yuktaha, such a person abandons both sukrita and dushkrita. So the vigraha of the samasa can be sukritam cha dushkritam cha. Sukrita and dushkrita, both these things are abandoned. So sukritam cha dushkritam cha. This is the vigraha vakya. When you bring them together, so again you combine them in their pratipadika form. So this is the new pratipadika that you will get, sukrita dushkrita, and then you will apply the proper vibhakti vachana on it. So the vibhakti is dutiya vibhakti, because this is the karma of this kriya. So dutiya vibhakti, and the vachana is dvivachana, dual. Because we are talking about two things, sukritam cha dushkritam cha. So since we are talking about two things, so dvivachanam. So in dutiya vibhakti dvivachanam, since this word is a neuter gender word, so in napumsak linga the form becomes sukrita dushkrite. Okay, phalam phale, in dvivachanam it becomes phale. So similarly here also sukrita dushkrite. So that is how we get this pada, sukrita dushkrite jahati. And then you see this pada ubhe. So ubhe is just a sarvanama coming from the pratipadika ubha. Ubha is a pratipadika that means both. And since I'm using this both with this sukrita dushkrite, so it is also going to take the same form. The dutiya vibhakti dvivachanam for a neuter gender form. So it also becomes ubhe. Okay, so buddhi yuktaha ubhe sukrita dushkrite jahati. That a person endowed with wisdom of karma yoga abandons both, ubhe both, the good deeds, sukrita, and the bad deeds, dushkrita. Okay, so these are the padas. I hope these padas, everything is clear. What you saw here, buddhi yuktaha. So what kind of samasa was this? Buddhaya yuktaha. So we are using tritiya vibhakti. So it is a tritiya tatpurusha samasa. And what kind of samasa is this? We are, basically there is a list and we are combining it together. Sukritam cha, dushkritam cha. So it is a itar-etar dvandva samasa. Okay, just I'm giving the names here for those of you who are interested. Tritiya Tatpurusha Samasa, and this is a Itaretara Dvandva Samasa. Okay, but again, as I've said before also, rather than knowing the technical names of the Samasa, it is better that if you are able to decode the meaning contextually, that is better. That should be the first step. That okay, all these technical names that are there, that are important, but you should be able to understand the meaning of the samasa just by looking at the context of the shloka. Okay, so I hope that context and their meaning, it is clear. Now I am asking the question kutra, that where does he do all this? So Krishna is basically saying iha, and iha simply means atra. Atra in the sense of here in this world. Iha loke jahati, here in this world itself. So iha and avya means here. Okay, and here in this world, in that context. And now if we move on, so now we are starting with this kriya pada again, yujyaswa. And yujyaswa means you must strive, you must apply yourself in that sense. And this yujyaswa, this is coming from yuj dhatu. See, yuj dhatu has multiple meanings. Yuj dhatu has the meaning to unite, because from that meaning only we get the word yoga, that means union in that sense. So there that yuj dhatu means to unite. And here in the context of the shloka, we take this meaning to apply to something, to strive for something. So yuj dhatu, and what are the properties? So it is in lot lakara, imperative mode, madhyama purusha, because Krishna is directly saying this for Arjuna, the listener. So madhyama purusha and ekvachanam, of course. So yuj become yujyasva. And Krishna is saying in the sense of a command, okay, of a order, that you Arjuna must apply yourself. You Arjuna must strive. That is that yujyasva. Okay. And tasmat, because since it is in continuation of what he said in the previous line. So tasmat yujyasva. Therefore, O Arjuna, you must strive. So this tasmat is in the meaning of therefore. See, this tasmat is also used as an avyay with this meaning therefore. And you can also see this tasmat as the Panchami Vibhakti Ekvachanam form of the Pratipadika Tad. Okay, in this form also you can see. What is the prayojana of Panchami Vibhakti? So Panchami Vibhakti is used in the sense of from, as in the source. But Panchami Vibhakti is also used in the sense of cause, that because of. So both these from and cause, both these prayojanas are given by the Panchami Vibhakti. So when we say tasmat, we are basically saying because of that. Because of what? Because of what he said earlier in the shloka. That Krishna makes a statement that a wise person abandons both the good deeds and the bad deeds in this world, and because of that you must strive. So tasmat essentially gives you that meaning only, no? Therefore, that therefore, O Arjuna, you must strive. Okay, so I'm just telling you both the things, that tasmat is also seen as an avyaya with this meaning therefore, and if you want, you can see it as a Panchami Vibhakti Ekvachanam of tad, with the meaning because of that. Both the meaning essentially the same thing. Okay, so we are starting with this, that tasmat yujyasva. Therefore, O Arjuna, you must strive. And immediately the question will be, kasmai yujyasva? Strive for what? And Krishna says, tasmat yogaya yujyasva. Strive for the yoga. Yogaya, the Chaturthi Vibhakti Ekvachanam of the Pratipadika yoga. So for the yoga, Chaturthi Vibhakti. So tasmat yogaya yujyasva. And again, within the context of the shloka, we already know we are specifically talking about the Karma Yoga, the philosophy of Karma Yoga. Okay, basically he's saying that you must perform actions in accordance with this Karma Yoga philosophy, whatever he has told before in the recent shlokas. And then lastly, we have another definition of this Karma Yoga. See, there was one definition that was given few shlokas back, I think in the last to last shloka, that Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. That this yoga, this Karma Yoga is basically Samatvam, equanimity of mind. That is this yoga. So that was one definition that we got. And now here Krishna is giving us another definition. That is why I'm asking Kidrishaha Yoga. How is he describing this yoga? And Krishna gives a beautiful definition, Yogaha Karmasu Kaushalam. That this yoga is Kaushalam, is skill in Karmasu, in the actions. A skill in work, excellence in actions, that is yoga. Okay, Yogaha Karmasu Kaushalam. See, you see this pada Karmasu? So it is coming from the Pratipadika Karman. Again, so many times we have seen this Pratipadika before. Nakaranta, neutral gender Pratipadika Karman, which means work or action. Okay. And since I want to say in actions, since I want to say this, so in, we already know it is Saptami Vibhakti. In actions, plural. So Karman in Saptami Vibhakti Bahuvachanam becomes Karmasu. And then you have this word Kaushalam. So it is coming from the Pratipadika Kaushala. See, Kaushala, this itself is a derivative of a word Kushala. Who is Kushala? One who is Kushala is one who is skillful. So skillful, that is Kushala. And Kaushala is a derivative of this. That means skillfulness, the isness of that quality. So Kushala means skillful. Kaushala means skillfulness, excellence. That is this Kaushala. It is a neuter gender word. So it is Kaushalam. Okay, so this is how we get these two padas. the entire line becomes yoga karmasu kaushalam. That this yoga, this karma yoga, what is it? Skill in actions, excellence in actions is this karma yoga. Okay, so I hope all these padas, they are also clear. Okay, and with this, let us move on to the Anvaya along with the Anuvada also. So keeping in context whatever Krishna said in the earlier shlokas regarding Karma Yoga and its philosophy, now he is telling that Buddhi Yuktaha, the one endowed with true wisdom of Karma Yoga, such a person jahati, such a person abandons ubhe sukrita dushkrite. Such a person abandons both here, the good deeds and the bad deeds. And so, tasmat yogaya yujasva. And therefore, O Arjuna, you must strive. Yujasva, you must strive for what? For yogaya. You must strive for the karma yoga. You must strive for this correct philosophy for performing any work. Okay, and lastly he says, Eshaha yoga eva karmasu kaushalam. This yoga is indeed skill in actions. This karma yoga is what? This karma yoga is indeed that skill, that excellence in actions. Karmasu kaushalam iti yoga. This is the entire Anvaya and the translation of the shloka. Okay, so that was it. I hope all the padas, everything was clear. And now let us try and infer few important takeaways from this particular shloka, and keeping in context, keeping in mind all the previous shlokas also under this umbrella of Karma Yoga philosophy. See, earlier Krishna tells us Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, that this yoga, this Karma Yoga is Samatvam, is equanimity of mind. But this is only a half definition. Why? Because if you only take this part of definition, then a person who is plain lazy, a person who is deep into inaction, inactivity, a person who does not undertake any work, who does not do any work, he can also claim that, see, I am a karma yogi, because samatvam yoga uchyate, equanimity of mind is yoga and I am equanimous. No, you are equanimous because you have separated yourself from all the chaos of the world. You have run away from performing any work, from performing any action. You are deep into inaction. You are not undertaking any work. And that inaction, that samatvam, in that inaction is not karma yoga. Because immediately in this shloka we get this point that yoga karmasu kaushalam. That skillfulness in action is yoga. And these two definitions have to be taken together. Then only it gives us the full picture of Karma Yoga. Okay, see, our Shastras, no matter what school of philosophy you follow, whether you follow Advaita philosophy, you follow Dvaita, you follow Traita, whatever school of philosophy you follow, our Shastras, all the great gurus, all the great teachers, all our acharyas, they have always inspired us to perform action. They have never said that run away from action. They have never said that don't perform duties, run away from your duties. No, no true guru will ever advise to not perform an action. Rather, they inspire you to come down into this world, into this phenomenal world, and give your best, give your all to perform action. Okay, so that is why we cannot just take that definition of Karma Yoga, that Samatvam Yoga Uchyate, equanimity of mind is yoga. We cannot just take that. No, that equanimity of mind has to be found within the chaos of the world. That equanimity of mind has to be performed while deeply engrossed in performing work. Inaction is strictly no. Inaction is out of question. Because that same thing is reflected in the shloka Karmanye Vadika Raste, where in the end Krishna himself says that Te Sangaha Karmani Ma Astu. That your attachment should not be to the fruits of action, but your attachment should not also be to the inaction, to not performing any work. Okay, so inaction is out of the question. This laziness, inaction, and then you claim samatvam? No, it is not karma yoga. Okay, so both these definitions, samatvam yoga uchyate and karma yoga karmasu kaushalam, both of these definitions beautifully complement each other and they give us the true picture of what we have covered so far. That skillfulness in action, but that action which is performed with equanimity of mind, that is true sense of karma yoga. Okay, and now there is another thing that we can address here. See, in this particular shloka, there is this thing, sukrite dushkrite jahati, that a person abandons both sukrita, the good deeds, and dushkrita, the bad deeds. Now, sukrita is not a problem, but this dushkrita, the bad deeds, this creates a confusion because they say that, okay, good deeds I understand. That Krishna is saying that if you perform any good deed, don't cling yourself to the fame or the punya or the praises that come out of it. No, just perform the good deeds and then that is it. Detach yourself from the outcome of the result. That is understandable. That is how you should do good work. That is how you are told to do charity. But Krishna is saying abandon the bad deeds also, dushkrita jahati. So is he basically saying that go out and perform heinous crimes, go on and perform whatever the heck you want to perform, and then just say, oh, I'm abandoning the authorship of it. I am abandoning the ownership of it. I don't attach myself to the outcome it is going to have, to the repercussion these bad actions are going to have. Is this what Krishna is saying? No. Because if you think this way, then you are missing the point. In the very first word is buddhi yuktaha. So this privilege of abandoning both the good deeds and the bad deeds, this privilege is reserved for buddhi yukta, a person who is endowed with the wisdom of karma yoga and a person who is endowed with viveka, with discriminating intelligence. And such a person, if you think that such a person is going out and going to commit crimes unreasonably, you then it is far off the point. If you think that person is going to read this verse and the first thing he's going to do is go out and perform bad deeds, then such a person is not buddhi yukta. In contrast, such a person is buddhi rikta. He is devoid of buddhi, he is devoid of wisdom. Okay, so don't let this dushkrita make you uncomfortable. It has to be understood in a proper context. See, this can very well be understood in the context of Arjuna in this case. Okay, Arjuna right now he's handicapped. He's not able to perform his work. Why? Because in his mind, that anticipation, that anxiety to win war, that egocentric attachment to the outcome that he has to win this war, that attachment is so loud, that attachment is so strong that it has made him handicapped. And then there is also this fear that, oh, I am going to draw a weapon against my grandfathers. I am going to kill my own cousins. And this action is going to incur sin. This action, because I am performing something, I am undertaking some work which is in disagreement to other people. So because it is in disagreement, we always fear that maybe we are doing something bad. Maybe this is a dushkrita. Maybe this is an evil deed that we are doing. And then this is going to incur sin. So that fear that Arjuna has right now, and that is what he says earlier in the shloka, in the second chapter, earlier portion of second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that if I kill my grandfather, if I kill my cousins, if I kill my brothers, then for sure I am going to go into hell. So it is that fear that he feels that what he is going to perform is an evil deed. What he is going to do is an evil deed because he is in disagreement to the other side. But in either case, whether good or bad, whether sukrita or dushkrita, whether good deed or bad deed, he is still so much egocentrically attached to the outcome of the action. And this is what is making him handicapped. And this is what makes all of us handicapped in our day-to-day life. We undertake so many work. But then, if everything is going right, then this is this anxiety of getting what we thought we should get. And if whatever work we have undertaken, if it is in disagreement to certain people, say someone in our family, say someone, some of our friends, if it is in disagreement to anyone, then we feel that what we are doing is a dushkrita, is an evil deed. But either ways, the problem is our attachment to the outcome of the result. Okay, because we think we are the doer. We think it is our ego center that is performing the work. And that is exactly what Krishna is saying, that a person who is endowed with true wisdom, he abandons both, he casts off both this good deed and bad deed. All this good and bad, all these things, they are subjective, they are mental construct. See, even a lot of actions that Krishna performed, they were right for some people, but there are certain people who say those actions are wrong. It is universal for all the actions. See, when a soldier of a certain country kills a terrorist, then from the point of view of that soldier, it is a sukrita, it is a good deed. But from a point of view of the terrorist and the family members of the terrorist, that soldier committed a dushkrita, that soldier committed a bad deed. So these good and bad, these are subjective. These good and bad, these are the mental constructs. Okay, and for a person who is truly wise, for a person who is truly endowed with wisdom, for a person who is established in the self, who is established in the true self, for such a person, all these things, they are just fabrications, they are just impressions. And for such a person, this privilege is reserved, that Krishna talks about here, that buddhi yuktaha, he, such a person, holds this privilege that he abandons both the sukrita and the dushkrita. He abandons both the good deeds and the bad deeds. Okay, so don't think that sukrita, dushkrita, this is a license for us to go out and do whatever we want to do and then say that I don't attach myself to the outcome. No, because we are not in that buddhi yukta stage. Okay, so it does not apply to us. This privilege is not for us. It cannot be taken wrongly. And if you think this Bhagavad Gita is inspiring you to do something bad, then of course your intention was already there to do bad. Okay, if you have already willed to do some bad action, then you are anyways going to do bad action. It's not Bhagavad Gita is going to tell you that. Because if you have truly read Bhagavad Gita, then again you become closer to yourself, and then you are incapable of harming, as I said, even atomic jiva. Because if you are endowed with this wisdom, this is what you see, that this sat and chit that you are made of, that same sat and chit all the jivas are made of. So you see yourself in the another person. So how can you unreasonably harm anyone? That is out of question. Okay, so don't let this dushkrita make you uncomfortable. Understand the true purport of it. Understand it is something that is reserved for the buddhi yukta and why it is being said. Because in any ways, whether it is a good deed or a bad deed, that attachment to the outcome, that is what we have to understand, that is what we have to abandon, that is what we have to get rid of. And then only we'll be able to perform work with that samatvam, with that equanimity of mind. And as for the skillfulness in action, that is natural. That will come automatically. See, for all practical purpose, when your mental energy is not dissipated thinking about the possible outcome of the future, then all that mental energy is available right at your hand. So all that mental energy is available while you are performing that work. So of course, the work then which you perform, that will have that kaushalam, that excellence, that skillfulness. Okay, and then the outcome of that work is also truly exceptional. Then the outcome of that work is also something that will exceed even your own imagination, even your own expectation. Because a work which is performed with these egocentric desires, that is a limited work. Because our ego is limited. So the work it produces, that is also limited. But when we make ourselves the vessel, when we make ourselves the instrument and let the life perform work through us, then that work truly becomes unlimited. Then that work truly becomes inspirational. And that is what Krishna, through his Karma Yoga philosophy, is trying to tell us. Okay, so again, all these verses that we have come up so far, I hope I keep on repeating this point again and again. I hope all these verses you are complementing it with some commentary on them. Okay, see, commentaries are also important, that when you read a verse and when you read a commentary, then for some time you stay with that verse, you stay with that commentary. That commentary, even though you're not actively thinking about it, but at the back of your mind, that thought stays. And that is that manana. That causes that manana. That adhyayana is there, but then that manana is caused by what you read. So that is also why reading these commentaries is important. That you are trying to stay in the essence of this. So it starts becoming more and more clear, even when you are not actively involved in thinking that. So that's the beauty of these things. Okay, I hope all the padas, all these texts, everything, it was clear. I'll now meet you in another video with another shloka. Until then, stay awesome, stay happy, keep learning Sanskrit. Vayam punah milamaha. Dhanyavad.